I woke up in a dimly lit room, my head pounding like a jackhammer in a construction zone. My right wrist felt heavy and constrained, like it was weighed down by a small boulder. As my vision cleared, I realized with a jolt that I was handcuffed to someone. Panic surged through me as I tried to piece together how I ended up in this mess. The last thing I remembered was attending Alex's party the night before. Great party, apparently. My breathing quickened, a mix of fear and confusion. Tugging at the cuffs did nothing but make my wrist sore. Fantastic. Just fantastic. I glanced at the stranger beside me, hoping for some miraculous explanation. He stirred, groaning softly, and his face came into focus. It was Jack, Alex's best friend. Of course, it was. What the hell? He muttered, his eyes widening as he noticed our predicament. We exchanged looks of pure confusion and alarm. Do you remember anything? I asked, my voice tinged with desperation. Jack shook his head, looking just as bewildered as I felt. The realization that we were both trapped set in, and we began to search the room for any clues. Spoiler alert. We found nothing helpful. As we struggled to find something to free ourselves, the door creaked open, and in walked Alex. His expression was a twisted mix of amusement and anger. Good morning, he said coldly. I see you've met each other. My heart sank, understanding instantly that Alex had orchestrated this little horror show. Why are you doing this? I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. Alex's face darkened, and he threw a photo onto the bed, a picture of Jack and me in a very intimate embrace. The blood drained from my face as the memory of our secret affair came rushing back. Oh, crap. Alex's voice was filled with bitterness as he recounted how he had discovered our affair. He had found Jack's texts on my phone and decided to set this trap. I wanted you both to understand the betrayal, he said, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. Jack and I exchanged guilty looks, unable to deny the truth. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife as Alex revealed the extent of his hurt and anger, making it clear that our actions had deeply wounded him. Alex left us alone, and the room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Jack and I tried to rationalize our actions, but there was no justification for our betrayal. As we talked, it became clear that our affair had started out of loneliness and dissatisfaction. Jack had been there for me during Alex's frequent absences, and one thing led to another. The realization of the hurt we caused Alex weighed heavily on us. Hours passed, and Alex returned with food and water. He looked at us with a mix of pity and contempt. You two need to figure out what you're going to do, he said before leaving again. Jack and I discussed our next steps, but our options were limited. The situation forced us to confront our feelings and the mess we'd created. We knew we had to find a way to make amends, but the path forward seemed daunting. Terrifying, actually. That night, as we lay on the uncomfortable bed, still handcuffed, I couldn't help but reflect on the choices that led us here. Jack and I had betrayed Alex, someone who had trusted us both implicitly. The gravity of our actions hit me hard, and I resolved to face the consequences head-on. I knew that whatever happened next, it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to find a way to make things right. Even if it killed me, which, at this point, didn't seem entirely out of the question. The next morning, I woke up with a crick in my neck and a headache that could rival a heavy metal concert. As if the handcuffs weren't enough, now I had to deal with the physical discomfort too. Just as I was wondering what fresh hell the day would bring, the door creaked open and in walked Alex, looking like the Grim Reaper's younger, angrier brother. He uncuffed us and handed us each a small bag with our belongings. Get dressed, he commanded, his voice as cold as ice water. We complied silently, the weight of our betrayal still hanging over us like a storm cloud. Once we were dressed, Alex led us to the living room, where his sister Emily was waiting. Her eyes were filled with disappointment, and it felt like a dagger to the heart. You need to explain yourselves, she said, her voice tinged with sadness. Oh great, a family intervention. Just what I needed to start my morning. We sat down, and Jack and I took turns recounting the events that led to our affair. Each word felt like I was peeling off a layer of my own skin. Emily listened intently, her expression hardening with each revelation. By the time we finished, she looked at Alex and said, "You didn't deserve this." Her unwavering support for her brother made our betrayal feel even worse, if that was even possible. Alex's pain was evident, and Emily's loyalty only highlighted the depth of the mess we had created. Alex suggested a temporary separation to give us all time to process everything. He handed me a plane ticket to stay with my sister in another state. "We need space," he said, his voice cracking ever so slightly. I nodded, understanding that this was the least I could do. Jack and I exchanged a somber goodbye, knowing that our actions had irreparably changed our relationships. It was like saying goodbye to the person you were before you decided to set fire to your own life. During my time away, I reflected deeply on my actions and their consequences. My sister, Jenna, was a great support, offering a non-judgmental ear. She helped me see the situation from different angles and encouraged me to take responsibility for my part in the affair. Her insights were invaluable, and I began to form a plan to make amends. Who knew that facing your own demons could be so therapeutic? Back home, Alex was dealing with his emotions in his own way. He threw himself into work, trying to distract himself from the pain. Emily checked on him regularly, ensuring he was taking care of himself. Meanwhile, Jack struggled with the fallout of our actions. He lost friends and faced judgment from those who had once been close to him. The affair had far-reaching consequences, affecting everyone in our circle. It was like a nuclear bomb had gone off, and we were dealing with the fallout. After a month apart, Alex agreed to meet with me. We sat down in a quiet cafe, the tension between us so thick you could cut it with a knife. I apologized sincerely, acknowledging the hurt I had caused. Alex listened, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he spoke about his own feelings of betrayal and confusion. It was a painful conversation, but it was a necessary step toward healing. Who knew that talking about your feelings could be so excruciating? As part of my effort to make things right, I began seeing a therapist to work through my issues. The sessions were intense, forcing me to confront uncomfortable truths about myself and my actions. I also encouraged Alex to seek therapy, and he eventually agreed. It was clear that our relationship couldn't simply go back to the way it was. We needed to rebuild trust and understanding from the ground up. It was like trying to rebuild a house after a tornado, painstakingly slow but absolutely necessary if we wanted any hope of a future together. Months passed, and though the pain was still fresh, Alex and I began to communicate more openly. We decided to attend couples therapy to address our issues together. The sessions were difficult, like peeling off a scab that wasn't ready to come off, but they helped us understand each other's perspectives and the underlying problems in our relationship. Slowly, we started to rebuild the foundation of trust. Emphasis on slowly. Rome wasn't built in a day, and apparently, neither was trust after a torrid affair. Jack, on the other hand, was struggling to move on. He had lost his best friend and was dealing with the fallout from the affair. One day, he reached out to me, asking if we could meet. Reluctantly, I agreed, knowing that we needed to have a difficult conversation. Facing Jack again felt like opening an old wound, but I knew it was necessary. When we met, Jack expressed his regret and apologized for his part in the affair. We both acknowledged our mistakes and the damage we had caused. It was an uncomfortable but oddly cathartic conversation, like airing out a moldy room. As I navigated my way through the aftermath of the affair, I reconnected with old friends. They reminded me of the person I used to be before I turned my life into a soap opera. These connections were crucial in my journey toward healing and self-improvement. It was like finding pieces of myself I had forgotten about, hidden under layers of guilt and shame. Their support helped me regain a sense of self-worth, which was in dire need of a boost. During one of our therapy sessions, Alex revealed that he had been keeping a secret from me as well. He confessed to having a brief fling with a coworker while we were together. The revelation shocked me, as if someone had dumped a bucket of ice water over my head. But it also made me realize that our relationship had deeper issues than I initially thought. We both had to confront our past actions and work through the pain they caused. Well, isn't this a lovely turn of events? The revelation about Alex's fling brought a new dynamic to our relationship. We had to navigate the complexities of mutual betrayal, which added another layer of difficulty to our healing process. However, it also allowed us to empathize with each other more deeply, understanding that we both had flaws and made mistakes. Misery loves company, I suppose. As Alex and I continued our journey of reconciliation, we decided to take a trip together to reconnect away from the familiar environment that held so many painful memories. We chose a secluded cabin in the mountains, hoping that the change of scenery would help us focus on each other and rebuild our bond. It was either that or couples skydiving, and I wasn't quite ready to test our relationship at 10,000 feet. The trip proved to be a turning point for us. Away from the distractions of daily life, we were able to have honest and heartfelt conversations. We shared our fears, hopes, and dreams, rediscovering the love that had initially brought us together. It was a difficult but necessary step in our journey toward healing and forgiveness. We cooked meals together, hiked through the woods, and spent hours talking by the fire, letting the warmth seep into the cracks of our broken hearts. It wasn't a magical cure-all, but it was a start. As we sat on the porch of the cabin on our last night, watching the stars, I turned to Alex and said, "I love you." He smiled, took my hand, and replied, "I love you too. We'll get through this." And for the first time in a long while, I truly believed him. It wouldn't be easy, but then again, nothing worth having ever is. Returning from the trip, Alex and I felt a renewed sense of commitment to each other. We were like two exhausted marathon runners who decided to keep going instead of collapsing at mile 20. We established new boundaries and communication practices to ensure that we wouldn't fall back into old patterns. It was challenging, like learning to walk all over again, but this time with a limp. But we were determined to make our relationship stronger than before. One day, while sorting through old belongings, I came across a letter from Jack. Just when I thought I'd decluttered all the emotional baggage, life threw another curveball. In it, he expressed his remorse and explained that he was leaving town to start fresh somewhere else. The letter was heartfelt and sincere, and it brought a sense of closure to that chapter of my life. I wished him well, knowing that we both needed to move on. Goodbye, Jack. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. With Jack out of the picture, Alex and I focused on rebuilding our social circle. We reconnected with mutual friends and made new ones, creating a supportive network around us. It was like slowly stitching together a quilt with pieces of our past and new patches of our present. These new relationships were built on honesty and trust, helping us feel more grounded and secure. Turns out, making friends as a couple isn't so different from dating, awkward at first, but it gets easier. At work, I took on new challenges and responsibilities, channeling my energy into my career. The sense of accomplishment and recognition helped boost my self-esteem, which had taken a hit during the affair. Alex supported me wholeheartedly, and I did the same for him as he pursued his own professional goals. We became each other's cheerleaders, albeit without the pom-poms and high kicks. One evening, Alex and I attended a charity event together. It was our first public appearance as a couple since the affair, and we were nervous about how people would react. I felt like I was walking into a lion's den, armed with nothing but a cocktail dress and forced optimism. To our surprise, many of our friends and acquaintances were supportive, expressing their admiration for our efforts to rebuild our relationship. The positive reception was a significant morale boost. Maybe, just maybe, we weren't social pariahs after all. During one of our couples' therapy sessions, our therapist suggested that we write letters to each other, expressing our feelings and hopes for the future. The exercise was cathartic, allowing us to articulate our emotions in a way that verbal conversations sometimes couldn't. Writing the letter felt like exorcising ghosts from my soul, one carefully chosen word at a time. Reading each other's letters brought us closer and reinforced our commitment to healing. Who knew that bearing your soul on paper could be so liberating? As we continued to work on our relationship, we began to see a noticeable improvement in our communication and trust. We celebrated small victories, such as resolving conflicts without arguing and finding joy in each other's company again. These moments of progress were a testament to our dedication and hard work. It felt like we were finally turning the page to a new chapter, one that wasn't stained with past mistakes. We were far from perfect, but we were making progress. One step at a time, one day at a time. Rebuilding trust was like piecing together a shattered vase, tedious and delicate, but ultimately worth the effort. And for the first time in a long while, I believed we had a shot at not just surviving, but thriving. Despite our progress, there were still moments of doubt and insecurity. One evening, I found myself feeling particularly vulnerable and anxious about the future. What if we were just fooling ourselves? What if all this effort was for nothing? Alex noticed my unease, because apparently, I wasn't as good at hiding my emotions as I thought. He took the time to reassure me, reminding me of the progress we had made in our commitment to each other. His support meant the world to me, and it helped ease my fears. It was nice to have a moment where my heart wasn't trying to escape my chest. As we settled into our new normal, Alex and I decided to revisit some of the activities we used to enjoy together before the affair. Hiking was always our thing, just the two of us and the great outdoors. So, we started exploring new trails and enjoying the tranquility of nature. These outings became a way for us to reconnect and strengthen our bond. Plus, there's nothing like sweating your way up a mountain to remind you that some things are worth the effort. One day, while on a hike, we encountered a couple who were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. 50 years. I couldn't even imagine it. Their story of enduring love and commitment inspired us and gave us hope for our own future. We spent hours talking to them, soaking in their wisdom and advice. It was a reminder that true love requires effort, patience, and forgiveness. Also, apparently a lot of walking, because they seemed sprier than us by the end of that hike. As we continued to rebuild our relationship, we faced a new challenge. Alex's ex-girlfriend, Rachel, reappeared in his life. Because of course, just when things were starting to feel stable, life decided to throw in a plot twist. She reached out to him, seeking closure from their past relationship. Alex was open about this with me, and we discussed how to handle the situation. It was a test of our trust and communication, but we navigated it together, ensuring that our relationship remained the priority. Spoiler alert. Handling exes with grace is not in my skill set, but I managed to not turn into a jealous wreck. Rachel's reappearance brought up old insecurities for me, and I found myself questioning my worth. Was I good enough? Was Alex still holding a torch for her? Alex noticed my struggles and made a concerted effort to reassure me of his love and commitment. We had open and honest conversations about our feelings, which helped me feel more secure in our relationship. It was a lot of emotional heavy lifting, but we managed to not drop the weights on our toes. During this time, I also reconnected with an old friend, Lisa, who had gone through a similar experience of betrayal and reconciliation. Her perspective and support were invaluable, as she understood the complexities of my situation. Our friendship became a source of strength, and I appreciated having someone who could relate to my experiences. Misery loves company, and in this case, it was a mutual lifeline. As we navigated these challenges, Alex and I continued to make time for each other, prioritizing our relationship. We established a weekly date night, where we could focus on each other and enjoy quality time together. These dates became a cherished tradition, helping us stay connected and strengthen our bond. It turns out that sometimes you need a little romance to keep the embers glowing, even if it's just over a shared dessert and awkward attempts at salsa dancing. The process wasn't perfect, and it wasn't always pretty. There were tears, laughter, and a fair amount of questioning our sanity. But with each step, we moved closer to a place of mutual trust and understanding. As we navigated this rocky terrain, we found that the view from the top, though hard-earned, was worth every stumble along the way. One evening, during one of our date nights, Alex surprised me with a heartfelt gesture. He had planned a romantic dinner at our favorite restaurant, the place where we had our first date. The moment we walked in, it was like stepping into a time machine. The soft lighting, the familiar scent of Italian cuisine, and the cozy little corner table, it all came flooding back. Nostalgia hit me hard, reminding me of the connection we had always shared. It was a beautiful reminder of why we had chosen to fight for our relationship. And, of course, Alex had to make me tear up right before the appetizers arrived. Classic. As we continued to rebuild our relationship, we decided to take a dance class together. Alex, with his 2 left feet, and me, who hadn't danced since the last wedding we attended. It was something new and exciting, and it allowed us to connect in a different way. The experience was fun and, surprisingly, brought us closer, as we learned to trust and rely on each other in new ways. Plus, nothing says, "I love you," like stepping on each other's toes and laughing about it. During one of our therapy sessions, our therapist suggested that we write a list of things we appreciated about each other. Initially, it felt a bit like a school assignment, but it turned out to be eye-opening and heartwarming. Reading Alex's list filled me with a sense of love and appreciation, reinforcing our commitment to each other. Who knew that listing out reasons why someone doesn't drive you crazy could be so touching? As we continued to strengthen our bond, we also worked on forgiving ourselves and each other for the past. It was a difficult process, like trying to remove stubborn stains from a white shirt. But it was essential for our healing. We acknowledged our mistakes, learned from them, and made a conscious effort to move forward without holding onto resentment. It was like clearing out the emotional clutter, one painful memory at a time. During this time, we also focused on giving back to our community. We volunteered together at a local shelter, finding fulfillment in helping others. The experience brought us closer and gave us a sense of purpose beyond our relationship. It was a reminder that we were stronger together and could make a positive impact in the world. Plus, it was a nice break from our own drama to focus on someone else's for a change. As the anniversary of the affair approached, we decided to take a weekend getaway to reflect on our journey and celebrate our progress. We chose a cozy cabin in the woods, where we could disconnect from the world and focus on each other. The trip was a beautiful reminder of how far we had come and the love that had sustained us through difficult times. There's something about being in the middle of nowhere, away from all distractions, that really puts things into perspective. During the trip, we made a promise to each other to always communicate openly, to support each other through challenges, and to cherish the love we had rebuilt. It was a reaffirmation of our commitment and a pledge to continue growing together. The weekend was filled with love, laughter, and hope for the future. We cooked together, hiked, and spent hours just talking by the fire, letting the warmth of the flames reflect the warmth we felt in our hearts. Sitting by the fire on our last night, I looked at Alex and realized just how far we had come. From the depths of betrayal and hurt, we had managed to find our way back to each other. It wasn't perfect, and it certainly wasn't easy, but it was ours. And as we made our promises to each other, I knew that we would continue to face whatever challenges came our way, together. Returning from the trip, we felt a renewed sense of purpose and commitment. It was like we had both been given a shot of emotional adrenaline. We continued to prioritize our relationship, making time for each other and working on our communication skills. Our bond grew stronger with each passing day, and we felt more connected than ever before. It was almost like we were back in the honeymoon phase, except this time, we had battle scars to remind us of the journey. One day, Alex surprised me with a small, heartfelt gift, a locket with a picture of us from our recent trip. Inside, he had engraved the words, "Forever and always." The gesture brought tears to my eyes, as it symbolized our journey and the love we had fought to rebuild. It was a beautiful reminder of our commitment to each other. Who knew a piece of jewelry could make me feel so mushy? As we settled into our new normal, we also focused on our individual growth. I pursued new hobbies and interests, finding fulfillment in activities that brought me joy. Alex supported me every step of the way, encouraging me to follow my passions. His support meant the world to me, and it helped me feel more confident and empowered. I even took up painting, which, let's be honest, was more about the wine and less about the canvas. During this time, we also faced new challenges, but we tackled them together. We learned to approach problems as a team, relying on each other's strengths and supporting each other's weaknesses. Our relationship had become a partnership built on trust, respect, and love. It was like having a built-in cheerleader, but with fewer pom-poms and more late-night brainstorming sessions. One evening, we received an unexpected visit from Emily. She had some exciting news: she was engaged. We celebrated her happiness and were reminded of the importance of family and support. Emily's journey had its own challenges, and her resilience inspired us to continue working on our relationship. It was like a real-life rom-com, complete with happy tears and celebratory wine. As we prepared for Emily's wedding, we reflected on our own journey and the love that had sustained us. We felt grateful for the support of our friends and family, who had stood by us through difficult times. Their encouragement and belief in us had played a crucial role in our healing process. It was like having our own personal fan club, cheering us on from the sidelines. On the day of Emily's wedding, Alex and I danced together, feeling more connected than ever. The joy and love in the air reminded us of the promises we had made to each other. We knew that our journey wasn't over, but we were committed to facing whatever challenges came our way, together. Dancing with him felt like a reaffirmation of everything we had worked so hard to rebuild. As the years passed, Alex and I continued to grow and evolve, both as individuals and as a couple. We faced new challenges and celebrated new milestones, always supporting each other through thick and thin. Our relationship had become a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and resilience. We had weathered storms that would have capsized lesser ships, and come out stronger for it. Looking back on our journey, I realized how much we had both changed and grown. The affair had been a painful and difficult chapter in our lives, but it had also been a catalyst for growth and transformation. We had learned to communicate, to trust, and to love more deeply than ever before. It was like we had been through the fire and emerged as better versions of ourselves. Our journey had taught us the importance of forgiveness, not just of each other, but of ourselves. We had made mistakes, but we had also learned from them and become better people as a result. Our love had been tested, but it had emerged stronger and more resilient. It was a tough lesson, but one that had ultimately enriched our lives. As we faced the future together, we knew that there would be more challenges and obstacles. But we also knew that we had the strength and the love to overcome them. Our journey had been difficult, but it had also been beautiful, and we were grateful for every moment. Life had a funny way of throwing curveballs, but we were ready to face them together. One evening, as we sat together watching the sunset, I turned to Alex and said, "I love you." He smiled, took my hand, and replied, "I love you too, forever and always." In that moment, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together, with love and resilience. It was a simple moment, but it encapsulated everything we had worked so hard to achieve. Our love story was far from perfect, but it was ours. It was a story of forgiveness, growth, and unwavering commitment. It was a story of two people who had faced their darkest moments and emerged stronger and more in love than ever before. Our love had been tested and refined, and it shone all the brighter for it. As we continued our journey together, we knew that our love would be tested again and again. But we also knew that we had the strength to overcome any obstacle. Our love was a beacon of hope, guiding us through the darkest of times and lighting our way to a brighter future. It was a journey that had been filled with pain, but it had also been filled with joy. Our journey had been filled with pain, but it had also been filled with joy. We had learned to cherish each moment, to find happiness in the little things, and to appreciate the love we had fought so hard to rebuild. It was a journey worth every struggle, every tear, and every moment of doubt. As we faced the future together, we knew that there would be more challenges and obstacles. But we also knew that we had the strength and the love to overcome them. Our journey had been difficult, but it had also been beautiful, and we were grateful for every moment. Each day was a gift, a testament to our resilience and our love. One evening, as we sat together watching the sunset, I turned to Alex and said, "I love you." He smiled, took my hand, and replied, "I love you too, forever and always." In that moment, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together, with love and resilience. It was a promise, a commitment, and a vow that we would honor for the rest of our